So you're here to learn how to program a top-down driving game, something like this. Well, let's get started. So the best place to follow along is on the PyAngelo website. Go to tutorials, choose arcade games, top-down driving game, and then drawing the road. This is the first step. Here's the video you're watching, and here is your starter sketch. So already it sets the canvas size to 600 by 600, so 600 pixels wide, 600 pixels height. The set canvas size, you specify the width, then the height, and then it draws the background, so it covers the entire canvas in what happens to be a brown color. This is the amount of red, amount of green, and amount of blue. So if we hit start, there we go. That's our canvas to work with a brown color, kind of to represent the dirt. Now let's first draw the road on there, the main road. So remember, our canvas is 600 pixels wide. So I want to make the road probably 500 wide and allow 50 pixels on each side of the road. So that'll make up the total 600 pixels wide. So we'll start our rectangle at 50 pixels across and 0 pixels up. And then we'll make our rectangle 500 pixels wide and we'll make it 600 pixels high, so it goes the full length of the screen. So to do that in PyAngelo, we use the rectangle command, draw the main road, rectangle, and we specify 50, 0, the bottom left corner of the rectangle. That's what these specify by default, the X and Y, and then the width, 500, and the height, 600. All right, let's see what we've done. Great, there's our road. Now, you notice that it was black, and that happens to be the default color when we're drawing a rectangle. Now, if I want to actually specify the color, I need to use the fill command, and I need to do it before I draw the rectangle. Just like if you're drawing something on a piece of paper, you need to pick up the color pencil you want to use, you need to specify it here, and it takes in an RGB value. So if I want to be not quite black, but just like a really dark gray, I could put something like 40, 40, 40, and then this would change it to be just slightly different. I think that looks good. All right, now I want to draw the left edge of the road. So just beside the road here, just something maybe in like a gray color, a light gray this time. So I'm going to go like 220, 220, and 220. And now what is my rectangle going to look like for that? Well, let's go over to our grid here. And I probably want this to only be like 10 pixels wide. So maybe I'll start it at 40 across, so 40, 0, that's the starting point. I'll make it 10 pixels wide, and again, it'll be the height of this thing, so 600 pixels high. Our rectangle command here is going to be rectangle, R-E-C-T, and 40 across, 0 up, 10 wide, and 600 high. Let's check it out. Awesome. All right. Now, the right edge of the road, I don't need to reset the fill color because it'll remember it from this last one. So I can just draw another rectangle, but this time I'm on the right hand side of the road. So I want to go across to where our main road finished, which was at 550 pixels across. And again, it is 0 pixels up, 10 pixels wide, and 600 high. Now we should have the right edge of the road. Great. So all of our rectangles have this little black stroke around the edge of them, or black outline. And if we want to get rid of that, we can use the no stroke command. So we can just say no stroke. And I think I'll do that for this game. So now it'll draw all the rectangles without an outline. There we go. All right, looking good. Now, what we want to do now is draw the left plant and the right plant. So we're going to put a plant here and a plant over on the right hand side. And then we're going to have our lane markings that are going to come down the screen to give us that movement. But at first we're just going to draw them. But instead of just drawing them with rectangles and circles, I'm going to draw them as a rectangle sprite and as a circle sprite, because in the next video we're going to animate them. And if we make them as sprites now, it's much easier to animate them. The sprites really help out with that. So in order to do that, I need to import the sprite library. So at the very top, I'm going to say from sprite, import star, which means import everything. Great. And then I'm going to do the declarations up here. So create plants, and I'm going to say left plant, that's the name of it, is equal to a circle sprite. And the circle sprite takes in some arguments. Firstly, the x and y of the circle, which is the center of the circle, and then the radius of the circle. So I'm just drawing this plant as a circle. I might put it up the top here at 20 pixels across and 500 pixels up. So 20 pixels across, 500 pixels up. That's the center of the circle, and let's give it a radius of 15. Great. And then when I create a circle sprite, I don't use the fill to set the color. I say left plant dot set color, and then I give it a color. So let's make it a green color, so no red, maybe 200 worth of green, and let's say 20 of blue, and see what that looks like. And then I can create the right plant, and that's also a circle sprite. I want to draw it in a different position though, so let's maybe make it 580 and 200. Have that as like the center of the plant. So 580 across, 200 up. Let's give it a radius of 15. We'll set its color, so right plant dot set color to be the same, 0, 200 and 20. Or maybe we could make it slightly darker. Let's just change it up slightly. Why not? Because we can. Now, you'll notice here, if I run this now, the plants aren't drawn on the screen. That's because with sprites, you need to actually draw them. So let's go down here, draw the left plant. I say left plant dot draw, open bracket, close bracket. Draw the right plant, same thing, right plant dot draw. And now, if we run this, we should have our plants drawn. Really nice. Awesome. Now the last thing is this lane markings. Now I'm going to create a lane marking, 3 lane markings that are going to eventually animate down the screen. And they're going to be 50 pixels long each. And when they animate, they're going to come off the bottom of the screen, then respawn up the top. Come off the bottom, respawn at the top. So to figure out how far to space them, I know currently that my screen here is 600 pixels, but I'm going to draw the lane marking all the way off the screen before it overlaps. And if I make the lane marking 50, then if I add these two together, I get 650. I've got 3 lane markings, so that is a gap of 217 pixels between each lane marking. And again, I'm going to create these as sprites because that will help me animate them more easily in the next video. So create lane markings, and I might just call them -1, -2, -3. Now, if you are an experienced programmer, maybe you'd think about storing these in a list, but for this program, and there's only 3 of them, we're just going to create 3 separate dashes. -1 equals a rectangle sprite, and it is going to be, well, remember 300 is the middle of the screen, and I want it like 10 wide, so I need 5 on each side of that 300. So start at 295, 0 pixels up, make it 10 pixels wide, and 50 pixels high. And -1.set color, let's give these some kind of a gray color, maybe like a 240, 240, 240. And then we basically copy this for -2 and -3. So I'm going to copy this, Control C, Control V, and Control V. And now -2, -2, this one's -3, and -3. Now, -2 we said is going to be spaced 217 pixels above -1, which started at 0 in its y-axis. And then -3 is another 217, so we'll make it 434. And remember, this doesn't draw them. We need to draw them for them to appear. So we go -1.draw, -2.draw, and -3.draw. Excellent. Let's check out our work. Hey, perfect. Loving that. All right, so we've done the first part. Now we are going to move on to the next video where we will animate these lane markings and the plants. See you then.